Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tianshi Club. How are you all doing today? Hey, now what's up? Hello, Shatter. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Let's see. So, Monkey was on Reddit yesterday or so. When was it? Monkey was on Reddit, and I saw a writing prompt that got me very excited. Monkey's been meaning to do some more creative writing because it's been a little while, and I usually enjoy it. But I just couldn't find the inspiration. So I kept looking, and so I was on our writing prompts, and I just happened to look at the top prompt at the time, and it was like made for Monkey. Monkey realized, oh, I have to write this one. And so I did. And actually I uploaded it, or I commented it on the actual subreddit just for fun, even though Monkey was a little late to the party, because it ended up getting a little long. the little short story I wrote, I guess, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. So I guess that's what's on Monkey's mind right now. Boa tarde, no. ¿Cómo vai? Espero que todo bien, JK. I mean, good afternoon now. How are you? I hope well. Oh, thank you, Enrique. Thank you. Yes. Things are well with me. How are you doing, Enrique? I hope you're good too. Hey, Monkey. Hello, Mongoose. Welcome. Good to see you. Hey, now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cute Monkey are we today? I would say just Monkey. This Monkey. Hello, Afox. Welcome. Hello, Nao-chan. Hello, Dragon. Welcome. Good to see you. No, hello, Best Squid. Welcome. Destiny called for Nao to write lore. Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I would read the Reddit thing. It is probably cool, but I will never install Reddit on anything, so... Oh, yeah, well, Reddit started out as just a regular website, actually, so you don't need to actually install an app or sign up for an account or anything in order to read it. I went ahead and posted the link on Twitter in case people were interested. Yeah, you don't need an account, you don't need an app, you can just read it directly in the browser. But also, if you just personally don't want to get into Reddit because you know you're the type of person where that's just not gonna be good for you, that's also totally understandable. Though actually, speaking about reading it, I don't know, y'all tell me what you think. I was thinking, if it was something that might be interesting to people, Monkey could even read aloud what I wrote for this during this stream, cause Monkey's been meaning to do a little bit of reading streams and see how that goes over and see if people like it. And this would be an easy, quick one because it's not too long. It's not a novel. It's just a little short story. And additionally, I know it pretty well, actually. You wouldn't expect, but this one for some reason I kinda know this one. So I was wondering if people would like to hear it. Hi. Oh, hello, Ikuya. Welcome. How you doing? Oh, no. Can you just read it not signed in? Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be signed in at all to read it. Oh, sounds comfy. Oh, I'm glad you like this idea. That could be really fun. You've been mentioning you wanted to try narration, right? Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like last time. It must have been over a year ago now, I guess. When we did the Halloween reading stream. That's the only time Monkey's really tried reading aloud, and Monkey hadn't read any of that before, so it was fun kind of reading together with people. I, for one, am all for Monkey's protocol. Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe we'll give it a try. Maybe I'll put the link in the chat too, so that people can follow along if they want to. I feel like Monkey would be a great video essay channel. Oh, video essay. Video essays are fun. I used to write a lot of essays. I didn't write too many for fun though, but maybe short ones. Okay, let's see. So, short story. Short story. Then I'll put that here. And then I'll just pin that for now so it doesn't get lost. There we go. I'm super good. You? Ah, I'm glad to hear it, Ikia. I'm doing pretty well. I did not get enough sleep because Monkey got a little obsessed over writing this story, and I kept being like, one more paragraph. I'm so close. I have the ideas all in my head. I just want to get him down. But, note to self. Get some sleep. So yeah. But, it's been pretty good. Remember to oddly enunciate random words if you ever plan to write video essays. Oh, that's the way to do it, huh? Oddly enunciate random words. I see. We shall await Nal's dissertation on the different flavors of fish. A key treatise. Shatter, I did actually try to write sort of a taxonomy of tea is what I was gonna call it. For a little while. But I started getting into all the little minutiae and being like, well, technically you can't really classify it. And then what about this? And what about that kind of tea? And I started really realizing that I was kind of getting to the point of a dissertation. So that one was never finished. Like many a PhD. But it might be fun to tackle that again now that you mention it. Thinking about it. I don't think you should, but many do. Oh, it's almost a meme at this point. Oh. Is coffee technically a tisane? I lean towards yes. I think this is an interesting question, Mongoose. I would say I also tend to lean towards yes, but I think it also depends on what brewing method you use for coffee. Some are more tea-like than others. Though, that being said, it starts to come to the question of what is a tea versus a soup. And that I could not tell you. When does a tea become a soup or a soup become a tea? The important questions in life. Okay. Let me see. I get my story all queued up here. Rather than putting it on the screen, because it will probably be hard for y'all to read anyways. It'll be too small. I'll probably just read off of it from here, and you guys can just watch me bobbling, I guess. Wow, what a read. I like Monkey's writing style. Oh, thank you, A-Fox. Wow, you're a fast reader. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. I don't know. I tried to evoke a certain mood with this one. I don't know, it's what came out. Bobbling monkey hype. We'll see how much I actually bobble. Alright, let's see. I guess I'll just read it off the Reddit post. That seems easy. However, now, I don't think English teachers would approve of the swearing. I was worried about that one too, actually. I tried to think of something that sounded more fantasy-like and therefore wouldn't be a real swear, but it just didn't come out right, I think. It was a little bit too... It just didn't have the right mood. I forgot about that. Swears? That's... I forgot about that. I don't know. I forgot that there's a bit of inappropriateness. Just one swear. We'll see. Oh boy, this is long, but I guess I'll give it a try. Also, thank Teatime to Daggers talk about escalation. A-Fox coming in with the commentary of I feel like when you put it that way, it makes it sound a lot more exciting than it actually is. Alright. Oh, I should probably read off the writing prompt itself too, because that was the context in which this was written. Some of the story doesn't really touch on the context too much because the assumption is that you've read the prompt and that's your exposition. Oh, a scream face. No, it's not a very action-heavy short story. Let's put it that way. It's not very action-heavy. I feel now should move close to the mic and mute the music. Get the ASMR. You think so? I don't know if Monkey'd be very good at that. I could give it a try, but I don't know. ASMR story time. Y'all want me to give it a try? I don't know about ASMR, but I can try turning off the music if that's what people like. He is so good. It's midnight here, so I would like a nice bedtime story for now. Okay, sounds good. Bedtime story time. Okay. Let's see. Who are you? Alright, so I guess I'll start with the prompt. And then you will immediately see, I suppose, why Monkey had to write this one. Quick votes from chat. Music on or music off? On, off, on, off. Hold on, no, I gotta get comfy in bed with my hot chocolate. Okay, okay. Sounds good, sounds good. I can wait. Off. AFox votes for off. Any other opinions in the chat? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm ready whenever. Okay, okay. Sounds good, sounds good. I will say writing this story also got me in the mood for more tea. Of course, for more varieties of tea. Especially the variety of tea featured in this story, which you will hear the name of several times. So that's what Monkey's drinking today. I'm drinking the same tea that features in this story. Off works for me. Alright, that's 2 votes. Going once, going twice. You know, the other monkey I told you about, she graduated. Oh no! Or went out for co-op. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I hope she's having a good time though in her graduation, that she's moving on to things that make her excited. Oh, I'm sorry we never really got to know each other. Definitely. Here's to Koa then. Also, that Jasmine Green, the characters has refined taste. Ah, yes. Oh dear. Alright. Sounds like we don't have too many opinions, and so it sounds like we're leaning towards music off. So let me go ahead and stop the music after the song is over. It's almost over, just a few more seconds. There we go. Alright. Why don't we give this a try? Smooth jazz before ASMR. Oh dear. Okay. So here's the writing prompt that we were responding to today. Writing prompt. You're the, quote, weakling, end quote, tea maker. People think you're a burden on the hero's party, but it's the enchantments from your premium teas that boost the party to world class. Bandits kidnap you to blackmail the hero. Leaving you in a cell with your tea supplies was a mistake. It's tea time. I mean, what other prompt speaks to Monkey this much, really? Got my volume turned up for this one. Okay, I'll try not to jump scare you then. Alright. So, let's begin then. It was a gentle aroma, soft, floral, with an undertone like the scent of dry summer grass, wafting on the light breeze before sunset. A comforting aroma, familiar, stirring a sense of sweet yearning for a time not quite remembered, a memory not quite made conscious. There was a shuffling outside the door, the sound of someone standing just beyond the threshold, shifting their weight as if in unconscious anticipation. Then, a voice, gruff and surly. "What's that?" The guard's stiff words came to me through the wooden door as more of a statement than a question. "Sorry?" I asked, not quite understanding. "You're making something. It smells." "Oh," I realized. "You mean the tea? It's a jasmine green. Sorry, does it bother you? I can stop." I began to put down the enchanted kettle. No, they cut in hastily. Then more steadily, no, it's fine. The smell is fine. Ah, okay, I smiled, relieved. Oh, let me check chat. Deep rumbling voice from your darkest nightmare. It's tea time. Yeah. Monkey, I'll try not to jump scare you. Monica flashbacks. Oh dear. An enchanted tea kettle? I like this idea. Me too, me too. Alright. I resumed my pour, drawing slow circles with the steady stream of steaming hot water over still tightly rolled pearls of fragrant tea leaves. Do you like tea? I asked absently. I hadn't meant to make conversation. I hadn't meant to make conversation, but with the silence between us broken, it had simply slipped out. I wondered if I was being a bother. Another shuffle, and then I don't drink tea. Oh, I see. A soft clink as I placed the lid on the delicate gaiwan. I really enjoy tea. It's maybe not for everyone, but I like to believe that you can always find something out there that you'll like, if you give it a try. I rambled on for a bit while setting the timer. Let's pretend I didn't disappear for 1 trillion months. Hello, Geronimo! Welcome! It's good to see you! How are you doing? Yeah, mate, the story fits you. Oh, thank you. Holy smokes, I never thought monkey ASMR would be this good. Oh yeah, uncurl the leaves slowly. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I relaxed into the waiting, then suddenly perked up again with a thought. Oh, would you like to have some with me? I have plenty of cups, and tea's always better with company. I reached eagerly towards my teaware pouch for another cup, in hopeful anticipation. I'm supposed to be watching you, came the voice from just beyond the door. You could watch me from in here instead, I offered. You'd be able to see me better that way anyway. And that barrier spell traps me just as well whether you're standing alone outside or having a nice cup of tea with me inside. Again that shuffling noise. For a bit longer this time, and then... Fine. The door clicked open to reveal a relatively young human dressed in worn, patched leather and armed with at least one visible dagger. Briefly, I wondered what sort of life they'd had thus far, and what forces had led our lives to intersect at this moment, in this place and in this position. I didn't remember seeing them amongst the group of their comrades who had waylaid me on the road into Dragonsbeard. It feels like I've been living my life incorrectly until I heard monkey ASMR. Oh dear. Dang, I'm getting sleepy. That's good, right, Fox? Nice bedtime story. I know the gaiwan is probably older, but does it look anything like a Japanese tagama? So, tagama, I'm not sure if I'm imagining exactly what you're talking about. Tagama to me sounds like you're talking about the hot water, the hot water pot that you use in Japanese tea ceremony. In which case it's pretty different. Because the gaiwan is actually more like, imagine like a regular teacup, without a handle, and then just a little lid on top. That's what a gaiwan is like. It's used for brewing small amounts of tea in, kind of like a teapot. Whereas the chagama is for heating the water that you will be using to brew the tea. Lot of work. Hospitalization. Oh my goodness. Still can't walk too good. Oh, and all that other fun stuff. But I had to catch at least one stream. Oh, I'm sorry to hear things have been tough, Geronimo. But thanks so much for dropping by. I'm glad you were able to make it. Hopefully this will help uh give you a nice little bit of relaxation time away from all the hecticness and worries. Well, after this, I know who I'm gonna ask to read my Akechi fanfiction. JK. Oh dear, oh dear. Alright, where was I? The air shimmered slightly as they stepped through the semi-permeable magical barrier and entered the minimalist room, doggedly avoiding eye contact, with an acerbic frown held tightly in their jaw and furrowed brow. But as they sat sedately across from me at the low table, for a second I caught their eyes glancing with furtive curiosity at the china-laden tea tray on the table between us. Delightedly, I warmed a second cup and poured the water out over my little clay teapot. The miniature frog seemed to gleam joyfully back up at me, happily hydrated from his warm bath. Oh, I was way off? Nice shape. Oh, thank you. Wait, nice shape? Oh, you mean the guy one? Oh, yes, it is a nice shape. I appreciate the teapot representation. Yeah, I had to throw it in. Okay. A tinkling chirp sounded from the timer, and I carefully began to pour the golden amber liquor from gaiwan to decanter, then from decanter to cups. Opening up the gaiwan, I admired the richly green leaves, now all unfurled and plumped with water. Oh, story time? Oh, story time. Story within a story time, I guess. Was with a friend. He showed me AI Dungeon and jokingly said if I could do fanfiction on it. And he then put Akechi on there along with some spicy things, and man, I was not ready. Eh? I don't know about this AI dungeon. Teapot holds the leaves inside, right? I had a little silicone rubber pug. Oh, I have something like that. I have the manatee. A little manatee that holds the tea leaves and then you put it in the water to brew. That's a little different. I think that's called an infuser. Traditional Chinese tea doesn't use infusers. But Western tea does and modern tea does. It's a little bit like a reusable tea bag, right? Teapot is traditionally it's made from the leftover lumps of clay after you've made a bunch of teapots and you have some clay left over, not enough to really make something too big. And so instead you make it into a cute little shape. And when you're doing tea in the Chinese way with the tea tray and everything, the gongfu cha style as they like to call it these days, you do a lot of pouring out of hot water or hot tea. And when you do that, you pour it over your utensils, but also over the teapot to give it a nice patina over time. So they're mostly just accessories. They're just for fun with no real practical purpose. But Monkey likes them because they're cute. That AI is messed up, man. Oh, really? I don't think the tea pet serves a real purpose to my knowledge, Mongoose. But you do give them the first pour to bring good luck and wash out the leaves. Unless you're monkey. Shh. The stories you can make with it are mostly great if you allow it to use NSFW, oh my goodness, and enter even the slightest of anything lewd. It goes down the rabbit hole deep. Oh, I see. Oh. Fascinating. AI these days is quite funny, I suppose. Oh, kinda like how you don't clean an English teapot because the tea stains are its pride. Yeah. There's a lot of traditional Chinese teaware that you also don't clean outside of when you're using it with the hot water that you're brewing the tea with. Because it's actually unglazed teaware. So you'll see the clay color and stuff come out very richly. And since it's unglazed and porous, it needs to be taken care of so that it won't crack over time. And the hot water and the oils from the teas themselves actually help to keep the clay hydrated and in a good condition. And of course, anything porous will take on the flavors of whatever you put in it. So typically, if you're using these unglazed teapots, you'll only use one per every type of tea that you have so that the flavors don't interact and get muddy. And similarly for Japanese tea, because a lot of Japanese tea bowls are porous, both Japanese tea bowls and the Chinese unglazed teaware, you don't wash with soap, only hot water. You don't feed the tea pets. Now, how couldst thou? I'm sorry. Monkey selfish. I found streams to be a good way to socialize now that I'm being forced to lay in bed. Yeah, that's great, Geronimo. I'm glad you could find that. It is really nice these days with streams and the internet and stuff that we can still have this semblance of social interaction, right? Also helps since I can't play too many home console games right now. Oh, sitting down for too long hurts. I don't suppose you have any handheld consoles? They get kind of tiring over time, but when Monkey can't get out of bed, I usually play either a handheld console or mobile games. That's one reason I kind of got really into Stardew Valley actually, because the mobile interface is pretty decent for making it playable on mobile and not too stressful. And so you don't have to get up at all. And, if your phone gets heavy, you can roll to one side. It's one of the few, full-fledged games, really. The non-mobile style, non-on-the-go style games that I've played on my phone. Gotta occupy my mind somehow. Yeah, totally. Oh, and reading helps. I got reading apps on my phone, and some libraries let you check out ebooks, so I read a lot of ebooks. Hopefully, I mean, you probably already know what you're doing, but just throwing some things out there in case anything seems to spark something for you that might help. It's alright, I'll share my tea then. Sounds good, Shatter, sounds good. I really should share the tea more often too, because like I said, it is good for them. It's too tasty. Anything is handheld if you try hard enough. I suppose. I did know a friend once who brought his own computer, like full-size computer tower and monitor, to a LAN party, I guess. I can't remember exactly. I think that's what it was. So So maybe not handheld, but portable. Anything's portable if you want it to be. Well, I do have my GBA. Oh, that sounds nice. I am now a crack shot at Dr. Mario on Game Boy. Oh, I don't know Dr. Mario. Well, that's nice though. Okay, I guess I'll go on. Let's see, where was I? Tell me a monkey joke. Hello, Shaman Blade. A monkey joke. Oh no, monkey's not good at thinking of jokes on the spot. Let me think. What do you call a really nice human being? A great ape. How about that? How is that? I don't know, monkey just came up with it. It's not a real joke, I guess. Dr. Mario is a really fun puzzle game. Oh, it might be just your speed now. Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll have to note that down then. Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario. Can Monkey get through 1/3 of the story by the end of 1/30th of the story by the end of the stream? Good question, A-Fox. Good question. I think we're actually pretty far along. It looks very long, but there's a lot of dialogue. So we're about where are we? We're about 1/3 of the way already, maybe. Maybe. Perfect. 10 out of 10. I'm glad you liked it, Shatter. There was once a monkey who was very funny. Please pretend this was a joke. My funny juices aren't going these days. Oh, okay. That was so good, Geronimo. Oh dear, oh dear. Kotaro. Ah, Kotaro-kun! Welcome, welcome. Just monkey. Yeah, that's me. Just monkey today. What do you call a baby monkey? A chimp off the old block. Ah, I see that. I see that. Never understood how a doctor can give you medicine and it kills viruses. Like, man didn't listen in 7th grade biology. Oh. Antivirals? I don't know if they talked much about antivirals in 7th grade biology, did they? Oh, what do baby orangutans sleep in? Oh, what, mongoose? Baby orangutan. Well, thank you for the joke. 10 out of 10 monkey comedian. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. Oh, monkey smile, bless. Oh, Kotaro-kun. Blessed hamster, thank you for coming. I have mastered comedy. Truly, truly comedy genius. Apricots. Apricots. I like that one. I like that. I had to read it out loud before I really got it. Nice, nice. Oh. Monkey's story is beautiful. Oh, thank you, Kotaro-kun. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Since IDK if I will be able to watch for the whole story, but I have exciting news. I'm learning a new instrument. That's awesome, A-Fox. Wait, how many instruments do you know now, and what's the new one? It's very funny that the local Dr. Mario expert can't actually swallow pills. Oh? I've capsules and eat the powder. Oh no. It's as disgusting as it sounds. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, that's tough. Do you at least get to mix it into stuff so maybe it doesn't have so much flavor? I don't know if it's the type you're supposed to eat with food or not, but sometimes if you mix it into something, it masks the flavor just enough that you can get it down, you know? And then wash it down with the rest of the food. Hello, Kaylee. Welcome. Welcome to the Tianshi Tea Club. As of today, I'm learning alto saxophone. Ah, alto sax. Nice. Been playing today for 2 hours. Oh, which it started off with it sounding like a foghorn. Then I got a B, A, G, and F out. And then after some practice, a C major scale. Wow, nice. That's really awesome. Have you played other reeded instruments before? And for how many instruments I play altogether, I'm officially a quartet. Wow, all by yourself, A-Fox. That's pretty cool. That's something I'd like to see. I tried mixing it with a lot of stuff, but I ended up spitting it out. Oh, didn't work very well. Now I just mix it with ice cream. Aha! Which I found to be the most bearable. That's not a bad idea, because the creaminess and the sweetness of the ice cream will hopefully mask a lot of it. And whenever you're done with the portion that has the medicine mixed in, you can reward yourself with ice cream. So, seems like a good plan. Tarzan had an amazing birthday party. Lights, fountains, helium-filled baboons. Oh. I guess the helium-filled baboons would be bouncing off the walls too. I'm just chilling, playing Beethoven on big piano. Sounds like I just dropped a rock on my keyboard. Oh no! I see what you mean, maybe. I see what you mean. That's nice. It is my first instrument where you have to blow it to play. Oh, I see. Wow. Oh, that's fun. For Monkey, amongst the the instruments that you blow to play, I suppose I've tried some flute and harmonica and the ocarina, I guess, I've played around with. And then, you know, silly little things like whistles and stuff. But that's... I never actually got competent at any of them. So I don't know if it counts. Just chatting today, Monkey? Kind of. It is just chatting day today. But we're also kind of reading through the story that Monkey wrote, the little short story. It's pinned at the top of the chat if anyone's curious or wants to follow along. But of course, Monkey being Monkey, I expect that there will be a lot of a lot of getting distracted by chat. We did get about a third of the way through so far, but then Monkey got really distracted by chat. Before I play piano, happy. After I play piano, dead. Oh dear. Well, hopefully the during I play piano is also happy though. The only problem at the moment is that my guitarist habits are carrying over to the sax, which makes me sound like I'm on steroids occasionally. Oh? How so? I'm curious. What kinds of habits get carried over? Mhm. I used to enjoy the old blues harp. Oh, blues harp. You know, I almost feel like that sounds familiar, but I'm not sure I have a good picture in my mind of what that's like. Mhm. I like harps and I like blues. Ah, the blues harp is a harmonica. Ah, that makes sense. Oh, that's nice. Getting distracted is part of the experience. It's true, it's true. One of these days, I might do some sort of narration dictation that is offline. So it's more like a real, a real reading. But I suppose while I'm online, part of the experience is that nothing gets read completely through all at once, anytime, ever. Hola, no, amiga, saludos, buenos dias. Hello, White Bears, welcome, welcome. 15 years after playing piano, dead. Oh, but also must be very talented then. 15 years? That's respectable. It's the harmonica. Oh, thank you, Mongoose. Yes. Monkey got a little confused, but yes, the harmonica is pretty good. Basically, when I play the sax, I sometimes let go of the valve keys, while I'm still blowing into it with the same amount of pressure, like I'm playing a guitar. Oh. Then the pitch rapidly shifts and I sound crazy. Oh, I see. Like sort of how with a guitar, are you referring to how with a guitar you can keep strumming while you change chords, but not so much with a saxophone. You can't keep blowing while you change notes. Not so easily. My brother picked up the harmonica recently. Good gosh, are days long now? It's always the best when someone in your household is just starting to learn a new instrument, right? It's always the most wonderful experience. Oh dear. I love the harmonica, but it's too big for me. Oh, I see, Kotaro-kun. Maybe a couple of whistles might work for you. Some whistles. There's a really cool instrument that I was reminded of recently. An African instrument from, I think, what's called the Pygmy tribe that plays one note, and you're supposed to play it kind of while hum singing at the same time. It sounds really cool. I taught myself to talk as fast as Eminem. He tries his best and all, but geez. Yeah, I understand, Geronimo. Good luck, ganbare. You can make it through this tough time, and maybe when you come out the other side, your brother will be an expert at harmonica, and listening to him practice will be repetitive but not painful. Let's put it that way. Ganbare, you can do it. A lot of when learning. Ah, makes sense, makes sense. Monkey's never tried learning to rap. It seemed like something that Monkey was vaguely interested in because it seems like a really cool skill. And Monkey likes talking and Monkey likes singing. But Monkey's really bad at rhythm. So I'm not sure if I could do it. I heard monkeys in Flowerfruit Mountain use a flute for music. Oh, the monkeys of Flowerfruit Mountain are, we have a lot of instruments these days, actually. A lot of traditional Chinese instruments. So like the Chinese flutes are very common. We have some Japanese instruments, which is nice, and a lot of Western instruments. Yeah, we have a lot of instruments these days. we've imported a lot of human cultures that were kind of fun, like musical stuff. Mm-hmm. My mom is learning piano, and after I'm dead. Kaylee, is it possible that maybe you're just always dead? I'm seeing a pattern. Mm-hmm. Can confirm. My brothers were thrilled when I was first picking up ocarina. Yeah, yeah. Certainly, and certainly some instruments are more forgiving than others, but all of them when you're just starting out is gonna be a challenge. Yeah, my parents are getting a bit tired of my playing. However, I tell them that it doesn't have a volume knob like my guitar, so yeah. Yeah! Yeah! Now I finally understand the trumpet boy meme. Oh, I don't know that meme, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the hard one. One of Monkey's siblings, is a drummer. And that's another one where you can't really... I mean, you can. I guess you can get practice drums that, like, make no noise, like the electronic drums. But... And you can get drum pads that mute the sound a bit, and... You can do some things, but in the end, it's drums. It's drums and cymbals. I suppose a lot of instruments are like that. For Monkey, it's singing. When Monkey's practicing singing, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, I have to practice properly or I won't be able to, do proper breath control and stuff. So it's just gonna be a little loud sometimes. Oh. I used to like the recorder when I was really young. Ah, that's right, I forgot. I also played the recorder. I almost forgot, because everyone plays the recorder at some point, right? I don't know if that's true, but I know it's very common to give to elementary schoolers in certain parts of the world. Mm-hmm. I still apologize to my mother. Oh, I assume she was supportive though. That's the nice thing, is also being able to support the people you love even though it hurts inside. I did learn from Magical Girls Universe how to use the Call of the Leaves. Oh, it helps to summon a bird mount. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, nice. What kind of birds do you like to ride, Kotaro-kun? I imagine you could sit on a crow pretty nicely, and they tend to be very intelligent. Probably a very good companion. Mm-hmm. It's only a tiny birdie, but feels big for my small size. Mm-hmm. Everything is relative. Mm-hmm. I'm either dead or dead or dead or lots of dead. I see, I see. I see, I understand now. Loud monkey hype. Yeah. You guys are lucky, cause I went back and paid attention. When I went back and reviewed some of my old karaoke, right, to break out the clips, I listened to it, and the parts where I was afraid I was gonna blow out your eardrums, cause I was kind of peeking a bit on the microphone. Luckily, Monkey was smart enough when I set up all my audio stuff to make sure that everything is gated correctly, and so when it peaks, even if it would typically peak or distort or blow your ears out, the balance stays constant, and so actually it didn't blow anyone's ears out, so that was good. Mm-hmm. I summon red cardinal bird. Oh, how pretty! Oh, very cool. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's over now. Or is it? Oh dear. I was a pretty loud kid anyway. Mm-hmm. Me too, Geronimo, me too. Always screaming about Buzz Lightyear or whatever. Oh, fan of Buzz Lightyear. Oh, I see, I see. Let's not go too overboard, Kaylee. Yeah, not too overboard. Mm-hmm. Toy Story was my fave. It was 1990. Oh, was it 1990? I do remember. I think I've watched. Are there 3 Toy Stories out? I think I've watched. No, there's 4 now. I think I've watched 3 out of 4. Mm-hmm. So 5 when the movie came out. Oh, I see, I see. That's nice. Mm-hmm. Oops, I touched the mic. I'm sorry. Oh, I had lots. Oh, I see, I see. Mm-hmm. Oh, I caught up the chat. Maybe I'll go ahead and continue reading for a little bit, huh? Mm-hmm. Where was I? I'll reread the last paragraph too for context. A tinkling chirp sounded from the timer, and I carefully began to pour the golden amber liquor from gaiwan to decanter, then from decanter to cups. Opening up the gaiwan, I admired the richly green leaves, now all unfurled and plumped with water. Please go ahead, I urged with a smile, motioning to one of the small drinking cups. I know it's a bit indulgent, but I always drink the first flush. The young human finally looked up at me, searching my face with some candid suspicion. I can go first if you prefer, I offered, reaching for my own cup. They nodded curtly, keeping their eyes steadily focused on me, so I allowed myself the privilege of the very first sip. My eyes closed instinctively with pleasure as the flavors and aromas flowed over my tongue and flooded my senses. At first savory and vegetal, with a hint of sharp bitterness, followed by a flowery sweetness, at once both delicate and intense. I let it flow into me and through me, expanding like divine breath, to mingle in every extremity of my body. I exhaled slowly, as the sense of equanimous healing coursed through me, simultaneously unbinding me and strengthening me to my very core. I opened my eyes to see the young human tensed and peering back at me, looking like they were waiting to see whether I would either fall suddenly to the ground dead or perhaps sprout a second head. I couldn't help myself and let out a small laugh. Okay, I pause here. I thought the bully kid would steal my toys. That's right, the first Toy Story was pretty scary, wasn't it? I had forgotten, but when I was a baby monkey, I thought it was pretty scary. I had nearly all the characters, and all I did was play really loudly. Oh, I see, I see. Well, that sounds nice, Geronimo. That's a good childhood, I think. Toy Story 3 was a really touching movie. All things considered. It was cute to see Andy grow up almost in real time. The bully from Toy Story. Yeah, gotcha. They always drink the first flush? Reminds me of a certain someone. Ah, when we were just talking about this, I was like, ah, yes, that made it into the story too. What's it like being a monkey? Being a dog's okay. I like being a dog. I don't know. I guess I also like being a monkey. It's kind of hard to say, right? How does it feel being yourself? Mm. Being a monkey amongst humans is interesting because we're so similar and highly related, and so sometimes it's easy to forget that we're different, but sometimes it becomes very glaringly obvious. It's one of those kinds of things where monkey, having grown up around monkeys, I didn't think anything of being a monkey, and so I was very used to it and I don't think about it much. It's basically a part of my identity that's not necessarily conscious or on the surface, but when you're surrounded by people who are similar to you but different, is when every once in a while you get this reminder of like, oh yeah, these people are humans. I am monkey. Toy Story 4 was kinda pointless? Oh, I don't know, I never watched it. I suppose you always put a piece of yourself in your writing, lol. Indeed. I watched Toy Story 4 on release. Oh, I cried like a child. Then I rewatched it without the emotional bias and realized it kinda sucks. Oh, really? So it's a great nostalgia movie, but not a great movie? Is that what you'd say, Geronimo? Have you seen a dog? We are very unsanitary. It's our thing. We also like to scold. I don't know. I've seen some dogs that were pretty sanitary. I like the idea of Toy Story 4, namely Woody looking for fulfillment outside of being a toy. But I feel like it would have worked better as part of 3. Remus, hello, welcome, good to see you. I remember vaguely, I think, the trailers for Toy Story 4 and thinking that it seemed interesting that they seem to have gone on a bit of a philosophical bent for that one. And so I was kind of interested in it until I think I had heard a lot of people saying that it wasn't that great. Oh, them dogs. We hate them. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Here in the Tianshi Club, we try not to hate anybody. I one of our only girls in our dog tribe. Oh, I see. Toy Story 4, on its own, is an incredible movie. However, after the ending of 3, it is just unnecessary. Oh, interesting opinion, Avox. Oh. So you feel like it stands alone okay, but doesn't add much more after already having 3, if I understand correctly. Oh, interesting. Alright, let me see if I can do a bit more reading. So I couldn't help myself and let out a small laugh. What's so funny? The human frowned. Sorry, it's nothing. I giggled before composing myself. Please, go ahead. It's best when it's still warm. I hope you like it. Looking still a bit suspicious, but overcome by a mounting curiosity, they took a tentative sip. A look of surprise passed over their face, but not an unhappy one. Then I watched as they took in a deep breath, savoring the warm aroma before draining the rest of the small cup with a single intrepid gulp. Holy F. Censored. They gasped out in a self-satisfied half-whisper. What magic is that? I laughed and poured them another round from the decanter. Jasmine green, I said, picking up the kettle again to brew us a second flush. Is that some sort of dragon? They asked, wide-eyed. Or the name of the spell? No, I smiled. Just tea leaves, scented with flowers, brewed in hot water. I could see that I must have managed to gain their trust. The suspicion in their eyes had softened from an anticipation of my potentially dangerous machinations to a mild confusion at my possible mental dysfunction. You mean this is just normal tea? They asked incredulously. No magic at all? I'll pause here. I see people talking in chat. I wonder if we'll get a Woody's Roundup movie after Lightyear. Oh. 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 I forgot that they have a new Lightyear movie, don't they? What did Toy Story 3 end with? Good question, good question. You know, Monkey has this weird memory thing where I have the hardest time remembering how stories end, or the very last bit that I read of a story is usually the part I can't remember. IDK made the Toy Story 4 I made as a kid, where Buzz actually flies and shoots lasers for real, and then comes to my school and zaps all my teachers, was a better movie. That's cool, but also scary, Geronimo. No zapping all your teachers, okay? We are a peaceful tea club. Yeah. Haven't watched Lightyear yet, but apparently it has an LGBTQ kissing scene. A bit political for a kids movie, if you ask me. Well, you know, A-Fox, here's the thing about that makes Monkey not sure what to think. On the one hand, with a big studio like Disney, it is Disney, right? With a big studio like Disney, it definitely feels like a political move, right? Which is really unfortunate, because honestly, being LGBTQ is not political, right? That's like saying being monkey is political, or being human is political, right? But because of the cultural landscape that has been created in Hollywood, it becomes political. Like somehow something normal becomes political, right? And that's really unfortunate. And so on the one hand, it makes Monkey a little uncomfortable when big companies are trying to say, hey, we're so with the times. You should like us and our brand because look, we understand this stuff that you guys care about. See, we totally get it. It's kind of like fellow kids, see, I think. Is that the meme? And so it's a little bit, it feels bad, like objectifying people and turning them into political statements rather than just being normal people. But at the same time, that's not how children are going to perceive it, right? For children, they don't know the political atmosphere, the socio-political atmosphere yet too well usually. And so for them, it's just a thing that has now become normalized because they saw it in a big budget movie when they were a kid. And in some ways, that's really valuable because that's going to be something that sticks with them when they become an adult. And that way, even if all of the adults right now, we are, everyone has their opinion set in stone and never changes it again, then it's still only a matter of years before people start to move forward and stop thinking of these things as political and start realizing they're just normal and there's nothing political about them at all. And so to Monkey, it feels kind of like a very strange sort of ethical dilemma where the question is first of all, do those ends justify the means? And second of all, can a can a big company like Disney do something like that in a way that feels more genuine and therefore feels less like pandering to try to get a strong brand out there and More like, no, they actually think that this should become normalized, you know? Mm-hmm. It's I think it that they I think that it is possible, but I'm not sure that a big company, just based on bureaucracy and stuff, could actually make that happen, right? It's like all the Marvel movies recently. We got Black Panther and we got Shang-Chi and we got Moana. I guess Moana's not Marvel, but you see what I mean. Um and that some of these felt more genuine than just, shoving in a character and being like, by the way, they're LGBTQ. They felt more heartfelt than that and more real and more like people were actually speaking from a place of being a part of that community. But at the same time, it's still a move to try to look good, right? And the question is, can we be okay with that? Can we say, okay, we'll use you and you'll use us, and ultimately it'll be better for everyone, so I guess it's okay. I don't know. It's a very personal question, I think. Mm-hmm. All right. I rambled for a bit. Let me get back and see what chat's talking about. I hate our teachers. Like, why do they have to be cats? Oh, your teachers are all cats. I'm sorry you hate them. I think cats can be quite nice. I like cats. Um, I grew up I grew up briefly with a dog and a cat who got along really well, actually. So it can be done. Mm-hmm. There's no gay kiss scene, but there's a gay couple. Oh, I see, I see. Oh, strange, because that is what my friends who watched it told me. Guess I have to find it out for myself. Hmm. Gay on Disney Plus. A Fox Place. Oh, oh, I see. It's on Disney Plus. Oh, I see, I see. I don't believe that scene was meant to be for money, since they lost tons of money because of that one scene. But I don't think it's a genuine thing. Yes, exactly, exactly. That's the thing about branding, Geronimo, in this modern age. Sometimes, especially if you're playing the long game, it's not necessarily for the immediate cash grab, right? What you're trying to do is purport an image, right? You want people to see Disney and be like, oh, they're so progressive. Why? Because the majority of Disney demographic is they want to keep hooking young people, right? That's the main thing. And young people are naturally going to lean more demographic and more progressive in general. And so, you gotta give yourself a good image and appeal to those people because you want to have the demographic that'll keep going, that'll keep consuming your media as time goes on in a long-term sense, rather than doubling down on your current demographic who will eventually age out, right? Mm-hmm. That's my guess. Obviously, I'm not a I'm not a marketing professional. They might have all sorts of other much better insights than Monkey does. Monkey's just conjecturing. Mm-hmm. It feels like the same kind of thing with the J.K. Rowling thing, with her adding unnecessary things just to be with the times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see what you mean. In some ways, I wanted to believe. So I'm not up to date on all the J.K. Rowling stuff, especially because Monkey was never really big into Harry Potter, so it's never really been front of mind for me. But I remember back when that started, um, wanting to believe that it was genuine. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt too, especially when it's individuals, not like corporations, since corporations don't actually have, they're not actually, well, they're not a person, I guess. But when it comes to people, I like to give the benefit of the doubt that they're being genuine. And so, in some ways, I could believe it, knowing that, for example, she hid her own gender, for a really long time because she was told that fantasy books written by women wouldn't sell. And so I could imagine that in her own headcanon, certain characters of her own were queer or something like that, but she decided not to put it in the book as sort of, in its own way, a political move to avoid any backlash. In the same way that a lot of people who are LGBTQ, etc., will hide that part of themselves in public just to avoid the possibility of it causing a hassle for them, an unnecessary hassle that they'd rather not go through. And so I wanted to believe that what was happening was that the times were catching up in a way to this idea that, oh, let's stop discriminating against people for silly things. And she finally felt comfortable. Just as she had finally felt comfortable revealing her gender, she finally felt comfortable revealing the orientations and whatnot of her own characters. And I think that would make a good story. But I don't actually know J.K. Rowling. And so this is all just speculation. And I could be completely wrong. But it's kind of the narrative I want to believe, you know? I want to believe in that sort of humanity, I guess. Plus, I just think those topics should be avoided in a kids' movie. Oh? You think so? You think romance should be avoided altogether? 'Cause I can kind of see that in that it's maybe not something that kids need to be worrying about just yet. But at the same time, romance is such a huge part of our lives because we're social creatures, right? We're social creatures, and so one aspect of our social connections is often romance. Not everyone is completely aromantic until they reach puberty, right? And even if you are, if you become allo-romantic eventually, you'll probably benefit from having some practice thinking about the world in that way. So I personally feel like, especially really important, like human personal topics like that, human or monkey, I guess. Very related to core nature of people, I guess. Trying to avoid that in children's movies seems a little bit sad. I feel like maybe you want to be careful about it, but I guess that's true about anything you present to children. In the same way that I don't think that like racial issues were much bigger before than they are now, and now they're still a thing, and especially in some parts of the world they're a huge thing, but they're overall not as big as they used to be. But I wouldn't have wanted people to say, oh, don't have a racially diverse cast, because doing that is something that kids don't need to worry about at a young age, right? Especially if they're living in a really homogenous place anyways and they're not dealing with it. Don't make them think about it. But then they'll never gain the exposure, right? If you see a bunch of different people of different races or you know, different breeds of dog or monkey from a young age, you get to see them all as normal. And then this sort of racism thing stops being a problem as much because it doesn't make any sense to you why you would divide people that way, because you've seen it for your entire life as just normal. And then of course there's gonna be issues because the people who are making these media, they have their own intrinsic biases, sometimes subconscious, that get imbued into the media, and that does pass on to the next generation subconsciously oftentimes. But it's a step in the right direction. And then hopefully when they grow up, they'll make media that takes the step further. It reminds me of a strangely woke, I think that's the right word. Please correct monkey slang. I think it was a strangely woke clip from Sonic the Hedgehog where they were talking about feminism. And you can see the waves of feminism. They change not just due to the progression of people really trying to make a difference in a very obvious, overt way, but also just with the overturn of the generations and what's considered normal. Because in this clip, they had what used to be your stereotypical, like 90s feminist, 80s feminist, the portrayal by one of the girl characters talking about like how she's gonna prove that even though she's a girl, she can do anything just as well as guys can. And then one of the other characters, what's his name? The red one, I think. There's a meme about him. He's cute. I don't know, Tails? No, not Tails. He's red. He's the one who, he's the one who asks if you know the way. He cuts in to say, by framing it that way, aren't you essentially undermining your own message by implying that females shouldn't typically be able to do whatever males can, and you're trying to break that assumption. So that there is that, unconscious bias baked in, even in that feminist statement, right? And this is exactly this is the exact kind of evolution and conversation that moves the needle in the right direction, right? Because the red hedgehog would not even have been able to bring up that point if not for I think she's a pink hedgehog, if not for that particular opinion becoming so widespread in the 80s and 90s. You need that jumping off point to say, well, but actually maybe that's still not there yet. So I do think there's some value to it. It's just all very delicate and slow and hard to really know the consequences of something until they actually percolate out, right? Oh boy, monkey's talking a lot. Where were we? They did describe stuff in the movie, like their business, their fun couple time. Oh, well, so here's the thing. When you grow up, you start to realize that children's stuff is full of what people like to call adult jokes, because it's the type of jokes you don't explain to children, so they stay oblivious. But the reason that's in there, is because mostly young children will have to be watching this media with their parents, right? And if you know young children, sometimes if they like something, they'll want to watch it over and over and over. Or, they'll just be watching a lot of stuff and the parents will have to be there and watching it with them. And so a lot of creators, who are also adults, like to throw in adult jokes just so that the adults who are having to watch this along with their children stay entertained and come out of it feeling like they had a good time too, you know? Back with some tea, where are we at? Oh, hello, Best Squid! I think we're 2/3 of the way through the story, but also stuck again because Monkey's sidetracked by chat. And clearly far behind too. Hopefully not too far behind, but it looks pretty far behind. Disney trying to act cool to the point where they're not. That's the funny thing about trying to act cool, right? It's kind of a slippery slope. I think that's why, one thing that Monkey has noticed. Excuse me, hiccups. One thing that Monkey has noticed is that, I feel like after watching humans for a couple of centuries, right? I feel like humans, as they get older, they just get cooler over time, you know? On average and individually, they just get cooler over time. And I think there's something about it. There's something about losing the desire to act cool that somehow paradoxically makes you cooler. And I don't know what to do about that, but you know, that's just a part of life, I guess. That's part of the beauty of life. It's like a flower blooms when it blooms, and every stage of the way is still beautiful. It didn't matter anyway, since I found the movie to be really mediocre. Oh, I see. I just think the problem is with those kind of things is that, and I just want to say I don't care if anyone is LGBTQ or whatever. However, I'm worried it makes younger, more impressionable viewers. Oh? What do you mean? As for J.K. Rowling, she is certainly a bit of a controversial figure. But then again, she did hide her gender because she thought books by women wouldn't sell. Exactly, right? You might need to consider sometimes with these people that they grew up in a very different environment than you might have realized, right? Where that was actually not just a thing that she thought, but a thing that was still true in the industry at the time. She was literally groundbreaking as one of the first actually big respected fantasy writers who was female. Because I'm worried kids will question their preference slash gender when they're not really who they actually when that's not really who they actually are. In some ways I see what you're saying, and in some ways I think that's okay, right? I mean, in Monkey's opinion, it's never a bad thing to question yourself. Monkey has always thought that one of the most important things for Monkey philosophically, personally, ethically in life, for myself personally, is to always question myself. Never let myself get too self-assured of one thing or another. To always question the world. A world full of wonder, right? Never assume that I know everything about everything, even myself. And just sort of revel in that exploration. And sometimes, sometimes that'll lead you down some paths where when you come out the other end, you say, no, I was right all along. I was correct at the beginning. This is who I am. But going on that journey often doesn't make things worse. It often makes you feel more comfortable and more satisfied and happier with who you are. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to start bringing up these questions early and let anyone who feels that perhaps they do resonate a little bit with that start to explore, right? Start to develop their own individual identities outside of just plain stereotypes. Outside of believing they have to fit a certain stereotype in order to identify with it, right? Like, in order to be a boy, you don't have to identify with everything that your personal society thinks a boy should be. If you look across societies, the more exposure you get, right? The more you can question these things, the more exposure you get to other definitions of what it means to be a boy, the more you realize that you can say, I'm a boy, and have it mean exactly what you want it to mean and not worry about what other people think it means, right? And I think that's really powerful. I think that really helps you get in touch with who you really are. And the real danger is getting caught up in questioning yourself to the point where you feel lost. And this is something that happens to everyone to different degrees, right? But as as I like to say about most sort of mental disturbances, it's not a problem until it's a problem, right? If you get a habit of questioning yourself to the point where you're lost, the problem is probably not the questions you were provided with. You're probably already prone to this sort of runaway thoughts and overthinking in the first place, and you would have found something else to worry about. And so in some ways, presenting people with this sort of question early on, or just questions of identity in general early on, might be good practice to teach them how to handle these sorts of things in a healthy manner. Rather than getting to a point in your life where you think you finally, you've pinned down your identity, you've got a strong idea of who you are, and then something comes in and knocks out one of the foundational pillars. And then you're lost and you've never questioned it before. And so you don't know how to deal with it. And suddenly you feel like you're spiraling out of control, right? In some ways, the earlier you get practice with it, the less likely you are to encounter a situation like that. And the safest time to play around with your own identity and find it is in childhood. That's partially why society is still structured the way that it is. To give young people the freedom to really explore and understand and become themselves. That's what Monkey thinks, at least. Regardless of what she thinks or doesn't think, her book sold 1 trillion copies. I should know. I own 45 Harry Potter books. Wow! 45? That's a lot. Same here. I love Harry Potter, the 6th book. Oh! The 6th book, Half-Blood Prince, is my favorite book of all time. And the whole thing is incredibly sad to see. Oh! Unrelated, but I am happy to see more representation in media. Yeah. Some of my favorite characters in recent memory have a lot of added depth to them because of facets that wouldn't be explored otherwise. That's nice, Shatter. That's really great. I'm curious what kinds of characters you're talking about. There was a Sonic Says, a PSA at the end of the old Sonic show, was about embracing your gender and enjoying your life no matter what your gender's like. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, see, that's the kind of thing that I think is really nice. Red character is Knuckles. Oh, Knuckles. Pink is Amy. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Thank you. Hello again now. Hello, Chito. Welcome. Also, gotta love when Sonic the Hedgehog talked about sexual harassment on the TV show. However, I do think that is a great message to pass to kids. Plus, it made for a good meme. Oh, I see. Yeah, because you gotta know to protect yourself, right? And you gotta know to avoid becoming, someone you don't want to be as well. Adult joke from now. Oh dear. The reason why they said business is because it would also work as a bathroom joke for the kids. Ah, wait, that's really clever. That's really clever. I kind of like that. That's no good. Humans look like us with less tails and stuff. Yeah, basically. By the way, have you seen the new Monkey King game now? It looks really awesome and epic. Oh, which one? I know there was one that was gonna come out with like the Black Monkey King or something like that, but I don't remember when it came out or when it was going to come out. I just saw some trailers a long time ago. I always question myself all the time, even if things are going my way. Hopefully you mean in a good and supportive way though, Chito, right? That's the other thing, like I said, always question yourself, but don't let it become a problem, yeah? Sometimes for Monkey it becomes a problem, so I know it's easier said than done. But just be careful and remember to also treat yourself with compassion. My friend's transgender and I totally support that. My other friend identifies as a girl as well. I see. Yeah, that's good. It's always good to be supportive because in the end, this is the sort of thing where Monkey's hope is that in another few years, and this seems to be how history goes, over time. It takes time, especially from your human's perspective, not being immortal and all. It really takes time. But eventually, we'll be looking back on this day and seeing this idea of like, yes, I support my transgender friend, sounds like saying, yes, I support my green-eyed friend in their right to have green eyes. It's like, okay, I guess. Makes sense, but also doesn't make sense, right? Hopefully we'll get to that point. Oh boy. Oh boy. Monkey really needs to use the little monkey's room. And it doesn't look like I'm too close to catching up with chat yet. So I think I'm gonna have to run away for just a moment and then come back. But I'll try to pick up where I left off. And oh, let me turn the music back on for you guys. So you have something to listen to for the couple minutes while I'm out. One moment. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry. Monkey is back. Where was I? Let's try to catch up a little. How is the monkey business going? Oh, pretty good, I think. Wait, I answered this one, right? We got stuck. We're about 2/3 of the way through the story, but that's okay. We're chatting about things. Hello there. Hello, Philip. Welcome. Sorry I'm late to respond to your message. I'm pretty behind on chat. Welcome back. Thank you, Shata. Thank you, Best Squid. Hello. Thank you, Remus. Alright. I think that kids giving themselves certain labels can be quite dangerous, especially in some certain settings. And also with some of the options like transitioning. Once you go down, you can't go back. Well, I see your point. I'll address the two separate points there separately, because I have a lot of thoughts on both of these. You've kind of tapped into a topic that Monkey has a lot of interest in for whatever reason. So, labels, yes. Labels, I 100% agree with you. In fact, I don't think we're completely misaligned on that in particular. Giving yourself a label early on can lead to things down the line if you hold on to it too tightly, right? So I think we're kind of in accord that way. The thing is, the current modern tradition still gives kids these labels, right? But they tell kids you can choose from 2 labels and we've already told you which one is yours. So deal with it, right? And Monkey doesn't know anything really about what's best. I don't think that I don't think I can say that. I have not the experience nor the wisdom to say I know what's best. But it feels like it might be worth a try. It might be a step in the right direction to, instead of saying there are 2 labels, this one is yours, deal with it. Then they still have labels, right? That later on they may realize don't fit them. Or maybe later on they realize do fit them. But then they have to realize that other people don't fit them. And it starts to be very confusing. Or they might realize that they fit them, but they don't fit everything about the label, right? So that's one reason why all these labels seem kind of unnecessary, right? But one way to start moving away from having to have those labels be such a big deal is to start by saying, well, there's actually more than 2 labels, right? There's 3 labels, 4 labels, 5 labels, and you start giving them a whole spectrum of labels that they can choose from if they feel like it. Or ignore if they feel like it. That's the important part. I don't think we should be forcing children to choose labels either. You just say, there are a lot of labels out there. Take some if you like them. Whatever, you know. That's fine. If you don't like them, it doesn't matter, you know? It's kind of like in calculus, where you break things into pieces to make them more understandable and identifiable and something you can reason about. And then you break them into smaller and smaller pieces. And the smaller you break it down, the closer you get to what it actually is that you're looking at. That's basically what calculus is. It's this fancy word for something very simple. You just chop it into smaller and smaller slices until you see the whole picture. And by starting that early, you'll start to find your own contours more accurately than you might otherwise. And so that's why I think, and as it trends to infinity, right? That's the other thing about calculus. Trending to infinity, it smooths out into something that has no divisions at all, honestly. These infinitesimally small divisions. So, as an analogy to the labels, right? You start with a few labels, and you say, actually, there's even more. Did you know there's actually even more? And eventually you get to the point where you say, well, actually, these labels are kind of useless. They're fun if you like them. Feel free to play around with them. But in the end, they get so hyper-specific that they stop really meaning anything or providing any value other than they make you look at yourself and decide for yourself, well, you know, maybe I'm a allosexual, pansexual, aromantic, you know, whatever. And you start saying, well, there's all these little labels, right? And nobody else needs to know them but you. And you can make up your own if you want to. If you're like, none of these make sense to me. Or if you don't want them, you just say, I just am who I am, right? That's, I think, the ultimate goal here, right? And so I feel like moving away from the labels, I agree with you, is great. But sometimes I feel the way to do it is to have more labels rather than less, so that each label carries less weight, you know? It's not such an overarching, life-changing thing. The second portion that you mentioned about transitioning is perhaps one of the most important points to really pay attention to in this context, because like you said, transitioning is a physical process, and it's one that is either difficult or impossible to reverse depending on where you are in your life. But honestly, everything is impossible to reverse in life, right? A lot of trans people who didn't have the resources that we have now when they were children, I get the feeling they grow up with this not necessarily regret, but longing for having had those resources when they were young, because transitioning is basically just going through puberty. They're more or less the exact same physical process. If you choose to physically transition with hormones, it's just going through puberty. And so depending on what age you're at, and what physical sex you've started with, and a whole bunch of other factors, because it's your body, right? Depending on your body, it will be able to do more or less. But generally, the trend is overall, sorry, I realize my music's still playing, but it's also very quiet. Got distracted by that for a second. But, okay, where was I? Overall, in general, the older you get, and after you've already gone through one puberty, typically, especially if you've gone through a male puberty, it can be difficult to go through another one. The older you get, the more hardwired your body becomes to your current configuration. And the more it sets in and says, we're not going to change much more anymore. So for some people who are very clear on what gender they are from early on, it's actually an incredible privilege to be able to choose what kind of puberty you personally want to go through. Whether you want to go through puberty that will turn you into a phenotypically the phenotypically stereotypical male model, not model as in clothing model, but like model like version 2.0, you know, version. I would like to be, you know, human version male. You know, I would like to take the I would like to take that spec and see how much I can configure my current configuration to look like that, or the opposite, you know, the standard female configuration. And again, as we start to open up and say, oh wait, there are no binaries, people start to re-remember. Some cultures already had this, but people start to re-remember that even physically we're not binary, right? And that you can configure your own body however you want. It's a little like the argument about getting tattoos, right? Even if you would never get a tattoo, or you would never pierce your ears, it's probably fine if other people do, right? It doesn't hurt anyone, and that's what makes them feel like them. That's what makes them feel comfortable. And so it's a little bit like that, being able to choose from a young age. And a lot of people, so far where the science is that a lot of people who are trans start to realize it at a young age. So it's not that dangerous. But the other thing is, you're right, it is still a medical procedure. And so before you do anything to your body, you really want to make sure you're doing it in an informed and safe manner, right? So if you do it early, if you transition early, you also, since you're younger, have more of an option to say, actually, this isn't what I wanted after all, and choose a new path. Not go back, because you can never go back in life, but you can choose a new path. Alternatively, and one thing that I've seen as very common, and seems like a decent alternative for now until we know more about this whole subject, right? Because it's all so new that we're looking at this in such a level-headed way that we don't really have all the science worked out. So another option that I've noticed is that if someone knows that they're trans early, or is strongly questioning their gender to the point where it gives them body dysmorphia to consider going through puberty at all, going through naturally induced puberty at all, what can be done is delayed puberty, in fact. It's not necessarily the healthiest thing, but it is a thing that the body does naturally in some cases. So, in some ways, you can give yourself a little bit more time if you're still not sure. And a lot of places these days won't start children on hormone treatment until they reach a certain age anyways, because why would you want to induce an early puberty in a child? That's just... that just sounds awful. Anyone who's gone through puberty, I feel like you'll agree with Monkey. Puberty sucks. And trans people who have to go through it more than once, you know, more props to them that they chose that route. That sounds sucky, man. But there are options aside from just saying, oh, you can only choose one and you have to choose it now, and if you choose it now it'll stick that way for the rest of your life, you know? There are more options there. And so I think that it can be done safely, you know? Introducing children to these options and letting them think about whether this is something they actually care about. And the majority of people who identify just well enough with their assigned gender will probably just think about it for a little while and be like, well, I don't, it's fine, I don't care. I don't care is a perfectly valid answer to the question of, what is your gender? What is your sexuality? What is your identity? I don't know, I don't care. Sometimes Monkey feels that way. And I think we need to get the message out there. I don't care is a totally valid response. So yes, that was a long rant, but I hope it was interesting. I find this topic really interesting. Speaking of Harry Potter, have you guys seen the trailer for Hogwarts Legacy? But it seems it lost its hype. Oh, Hogwarts Legacy, you're right. I remember seeing the trailer. It looked very ambitious to Monkey. It sounded very ambitious. But I was under the impression that it hadn't released yet. So sometimes Monkey doesn't really know. I don't keep up with games. It's a game, right? Sometimes games lose hype until they get another marketing round. Usually closer to release. I don't know though. However, I do think Mel also has really good points. Oh, thank you, A-Fox. I appreciate that. It's very nice of you to say so. I like civil discourse. I think that's what they call it. Civil discourse. You don't necessarily have to medically transition, and even then, it is reversible. Exactly, Miss. Exactly, right? Not everyone chooses to because they are comfortable enough with their own physical bodies in the configuration it was set up in that they don't feel the need to modify it, right? It's like you can buy your PC from the PC shop and say, this is what I want, this is mine. And then there's people who say, no, I want to swap out the graphics card, or I want to build my own PC from scratch, or I want to make a PC who looks like that one, that looks like that PC, you know? So you choose yourself, and it's, you know, certain things you do will have impacts on your decisions later, but that's kind of life, right? Of course, children don't medically transition. Yeah, typically not, because children... So the way child development works in humans, at least, I've studied that more than monkeys for whatever reason. Humans are fascinating. You guys are fascinating. But the way it works in humans is that there's a very slight differentiation that begins when you're very young, in, I believe, still in the womb. You get a hit of one hormone or another, that just starts a very slight transition into what you come out as when you're born. But after that, there's not really any difference hormonally until you hit puberty. And so all of the differences between children all come from that initial hit. And that's not a thing that we're messing with, because we have no idea how any of that works. And honestly, there doesn't seem to be a real need to do so, right? So I think we're very careful when it comes to medicine with children, whether it's related to gender or anything else, right? It's like this is a weird example, which is why Monkey paused, but it's like if a little kid gets acne, you're not necessarily gonna inundate them with all sorts of different drugs just yet. Only the ones that you know are safe, and if only if the acne really bothers them to the point where it's making them depressed, you know? That sort of thing. It isn't necessarily related to gender or sexuality per se, but Paladin Stormblast from the Stormlight Archives is a fantastic character, and his character arc is a great case study for depression. Oh, really? Oh, Stormlight Archives. You know, Monkey's been looking for something new to read. And, I remember you mentioning these Stormlight Archives a lot and I really like them. I'm gonna make a note of that, just cause Monkey's gonna need something new to read soon. That's really interesting. Monkey has read some books recently where I was shocked because I didn't realize that they were gonna be about depression. But then they were surprisingly realistic about it, and it was an interesting experience. We would continue this debate. However, the ice is thin, so you have to tread carefully. It's true, A Fox. It's very important because these types of things, they're fun to debate, right? But they're also some people's real lives, right? They're really personal held beliefs and their real lives and things like that. So you want to be really careful with them. So I appreciate what you're saying there. It's very true. I mean, a month passes in a minute for me. Maybe I'm not mortal. Oh, maybe, Enhiki, maybe. You see, that makes sense because what you'll find is the older you get, the faster time travels. I don't know if you know this, but time travels faster when you get older. And so that's why, like, trees, they hardly move, right? You hardly see them move. It's because a lot of trees, they have really long life expectancy. So they don't really... They see things different. And the older they get, the less they move, I guess. I don't know if that's true, actually. That's my conjecture. But definitely time speeds up. And it's funny, it's a constant thing. Ever since you become sentient, time speeds up every second. And so you always feel like time is going really fast because it's faster than it was yesterday. Break time. Oh, this was break time. Wow, so long with no music. It's true. The music is back out now because Monkey's ranting instead of reading, but I should get back to reading. reading at some point. Hello, hello. Cuckoo, welcome. Sorry, I'm so late getting back to you. Oh, how you doing today? Potatoes, tea. Just leaving this in here in case Now needs it. Oh, thank you, Shatter. I will always take your offerings of potatoes and tea. Thank you. Oh. Yeah, that's nice. That is nice. Potatoes and tea. Early puberty. Imagine being 5 with acne and mood swings. Right? You don't need that at age 5. Honestly, it sometimes feels like you don't need that at any age, right? Technically, I guess it kind of is a formative sort of thing, so maybe at some point it's good to go through, like how it's good to take your medicine, even if it sucks. But let's not rush it, huh? And imagine it having testosterone. Dang. Yeah, testosterone messes with your head, right? Oh dear. Monkey puberty. Yeah. Anyways, it's very late. I should probably sleep. Oh, okay, Fox. Sorry we didn't finish reading the story while you were still able to stick around. But I had fun chatting with you anyway, so I hope you did too. Good night, chat. Good night now. Good night, A Fox. Thanks so much for coming, and have sweet dreams and a good night, and I hope to see you soon. You're getting there, monkey. You can do it. I can do it. I did it. Oh, good night, please. Yeah. Wow, I caught up. I think y'all were being nice to me, weren't you? Being nice to monkey so I could catch up. Well, in that case, maybe I'll go back and try reading just a little bit more and see how far we get, huh? We still have a decent amount of time left in stream. And I guess I was doing this with the music off. So, maybe I'll pause the music for a bit, and we can get back to a little bit of reading. Okay, I'm just gonna pause in the middle, because we're too far from the end of the song, and... Alright. Let's back up just the tiniest bit for context. Yeah, maybe we'll start here. I could see that I must have managed to gain their trust. The suspicion in their eyes had softened from an anticipation of my potentially dangerous machinations to a mild confusion at my possible mental dysfunction. You mean this is just normal tea? They asked incredulously. No magic at all? Well, I suppose, yes. A very good tea, I think. The farmers did an excellent job. But yes, other than that, just an ordinary tea. No magic. I thought for a moment. Oh, well, the kettle is enchanted. It can heat water perfectly to spec, without need for a fire. It's a really nice kettle, too. A gift, actually, from the hero. But other than that, no magic. I nodded proudly at my explanation. The young human furrowed their brow again. If they weren't careful, it was going to stick like that. Look, they said, sounding slightly exasperated. You've just been kidnapped by bandits. But you're just sitting here making normal tea? Yes? I asked, hoping it was the right answer. Shouldn't you be, I don't know, worrying about how you'll get free? Coming up with a plan to escape or something? Oh no, I replied. You've all been nice enough to me so far. Well, aside from the kidnapping, of course. And you even let me keep my tea things. So I'm not really worried about being here. And it won't be for very much longer now anyway. What do you mean? They said, tensing back up suddenly. Oh, well, you know. I tried to explain gently. I'm a part of the heroes' party, right? As you know. And you know that she's very busy right now, which is why we weren't together when your lot came to pick me up. But you see, it's getting to be around tea time now, and so. There was a crash outside and the sound of many voices shouting. The young human jumped to their feet, pivoting towards the door and reaching for their dagger, just as. Monkey! Hey, Monkey, where are you? The door swung open, and the magical barrier shattered brilliantly, like so many pieces of breakaway sugar glass. There you are! Exclaimed the hero, seeming a bit too loud over the sudden silence resounding in her wake. It looks like you got started without me. The others should be here soon. Oh, I see chat. Monkey? Did you know? There's a monkey in this story. As I think someone said earlier, you write what you know, right? So, she sat down at the now empty spot across from me and held up a cup. The young human stood stationary behind her, paralyzed in an instant by the hero's binding spell, and struck dumb out of pure astonishment. She glanced back at them as I poured her a cup, then turned back to me with a playful smile. Giving the humans a taste of your magic? She asked with that characteristic twinkle in her eye. If only the paparazzi actually knew. Just a bit of jasmine green, I replied, taking back up my own cup. My favorite, she intoned, taking a deep breath of the rich steam. Liquid confidence. I think that's generally referring to something else, I start to say, just as the noise level picks up outside again. Hey, sorry we're late. The rest of the party pours in through the door, raucously chattering and taking their seats. Over the fresh hubbub and noise, I smile apologetically up at the young human who had once been my guard. Sorry about all this, I say over the ruckus. But if you're still feeling up for it, would you like to join us for some more tea? The end. See, it wasn't that bad. Wasn't that long. We actually got through all of it. I'm impressed. Bits and pieces. It might feel a little disjointed with Monkey talking in the middle, but there we are. Alright, back to music. Music back on. So yeah, that was Monkey's little story. I hope you enjoyed it. The link is in the pin if you need to reread it because it made no sense when Monkey said it out loud with all the cuts. Or if you need to wipe it from your memory and never think about it again. So, as I mentioned, in the story, there's the highlight of the teas in the story is the jasmine green, and writing about it just made Monkey really start to crave it. All the things that I was writing to describe how nice it is to just have a nice cup of tea. And so, today Monkey will cheers you all with my pot of jasmine green tea. Inspired by Monkey's own story. Tea, the strongest magic of all. Exactly, right? When I first read the prompt, this idea kind of came to me because he's already magic. I think any hero party would do better with a regular tea time, right? In my interpretation of my story, it's pretty unclear, it's pretty ambiguous as to whether or not magical tea actually exists in this world, like special magical teas, and whether or not the narrator prepares those kinds of tea for the hero party or not. It's left a little bit ambiguous. I would say intentionally, but also I just didn't want to overload the story with world building. I wanted it to be more of an aesthetic story where you're just kind of following along with the sensations and dialogue. But I like to think my current headcanon is that maybe magical tea exists, maybe it doesn't. Maybe the narrator makes it for the hero party, and maybe they don't. But the magic of just regular old tea, just having regular old tea and making regular old tea and sharing it with each other is already magic enough that it by itself is one of the narrator's I guess main talents and contributions to their party. Just having a nice cup of tea, and the party really appreciates this, and that's why they could never miss a tea time. I will say that writing this also made me think a little bit about some of you all. Because tea time is very important. And I like to spend it with all of you. Oh, speaking of reading things, actually. Speaking of reading things, sorry, this just came to mind from Monkey. It's a little bit of a tangent. But, you know how Monkey was thinking about whether or not I could read a bit of 西游记, Journey to the West, for all of you? Well, as it turns out, there are versions. The currently most revered version in English by the academic community has been distributed intentionally in a way where it is free for Monkey to read it aloud to all of you and record it. And so Monkey's tempted to give it a try. I don't know if I'll be very good at it. I'm not sure I will do it live. It might be one of those that I might try doing offline. Might benefit from that so that it's not full of Monkey's tangents and commentary and random other topics that get you all confused as to what's going on. So I might consider doing it offline. Though at the same time, if there is interest in more online story time, I'm definitely down to do more of this too. I did find it pretty enjoyable today. It was pretty fun. So yeah, so that's exciting. Does this party perhaps have any openings? Asking for a friend. Oh. Well, you know, as any good party should probably have a tea maker. Any good party could probably use a jester, right? And in some ways, with jesters, the more the merrier, right? So, I think your friend should be alright. I believe they may be taking applications. I'm up for any form of story time. Oh, good to know, good to know. Oh, thank you, Remus. Oh, I see. I wonder, I feel like short form stories like today work well for stream because Monkey gets so sidetracked. I can only get through so much, right? Like this time we got through this relatively short story that Monkey wrote. And last time we got through the short story Monkey's Paw, relatively short. And then we did get through a tiny bit of the yellow wallpaper, but not really. So like, one shorter short story, like not a long short story, seems like it fits well into a single stream. On the other hand, perhaps it could be interesting to take something that is a longer story but more episodic, like COG, like Journey to the West, is more episodic really, and have that as a continuing thing as well, because in some ways it's very similar to a visual novel, right? Except that rather than having nice graphics to look at, you have to stare at Monkey's face, which I apologize for. But like playing a visual novel, Monkey cuts off the narrative all the time, and you know, people will pop in and out and not necessarily have heard the whole thing, but it still kind of works out, right? So could be worth a try. I would say something that benefits from more continuity but cannot be completed in a single stream probably works better as a side recorded, an offline recorded thing. Like one of my favorite short stories recently, I suppose, is called Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. One of the authors I've been raving about his most recent short story compilation. It's so good. Oh, I wonder if I could read some of that. I wish I could, but I don't know what would be considered appropriate. But I really love that short story compilation, so I'd be happy to contribute to sharing it and getting more people interested in it, so that he gets more recognition and maybe more sales. I don't work for Ted Chiang. But one of his older short stories is almost, I think, what they call novella-like, which means a bit shorter than what you might typically call a novel, but a bit longer than what you might typically call a short story. But it's really wonderful. But I get the feeling that one's too confusing if you break it up, because it deals with sort of very abstract concepts that intentionally break the mold of how one normally perceives the world, and therefore breaking it up might feel too frenetic and not do the work justice. Whereas COG, Journey to the West, is maybe a perfect candidate for stream, now that I think about it. Because it is originally from an oral tradition, you know, like fairy tales and stuff. It was originally from an oral tradition, and eventually got written down and compiled into this one long story. But it still retains that oral tradition feeling, because that's its root. That's where it came from, and therefore works pretty well as disjointed tales, spoken aloud with interjection and interruption. I think maybe. Yeah. The only thing is, Monkey has never read this version through the entire way, so I'll probably trip up here and there. But maybe that's even more reason why it should be read online rather than offline. Because Because if it's offline, I'm gonna feel pressure to make it good. If that makes sense. I shouldn't say that. I of course want streams to be good too, but there's a little more wiggle room, you know? As opposed to like basically having to compare myself against audiobooks or something. No pressure. Oh, monkey. It's good, monkey. Oh. Thank you, Sato. Thank you. I appreciate that. CLT is also intimidating because it's extremely long, but just because it's long doesn't mean we have to read all of it. Just because we read it doesn't mean we have to read all of it either. It also, one thing about this version that is one of the things it's lauded for, what makes it special versus some of the other translations, is that COG is full of poetry. That's just kind of a common thing, I guess, with Chinese literature. And it's difficult to translate because how does one culturally... First of all, how does one culturally translate styles of writing, such as having poetry woven throughout your story? And secondarily, how does one translate poetry? That is like the hardest thing. That's like trying to translate art. You can't really translate art. But so Monkey is a little intimidated by whether or not Monkey would be able to read this poetry and make it sound good. But it might be a fun thing to try. Sorry for my death. Windows 11 crashed again. Oh no! No worries, Geronimo. Good to have you back. Is Windows 11 pretty unstable? Monkey hasn't tried it yet. I'm actually buying a MacBook charger right now. This PC is too unreliable. Oh, I see. I understand. The monkey has good old Potato Kun. Potato Kun still chugging along. Everything okay. We are not upgrading to Windows 11 anytime soon. I think that would be dangerous. Yeah. Well, it's unstable enough to make me switch to Mac. Oh, I see. Monkey has tried both platforms. I have some familiarity with both, and there's different parts of each that I enjoy, depending on what I'm trying to do. So in my... Typically I've stuck to PC because it's what I am most familiar with, even though I've used both. And some of the things that PC sucks for, nowadays they have some mitigations. Like programming is way better on a Mac, I will say that. Hands down, I'd program on the Mac over a PC. But they're fixing it a little bit. They're making it better. This is when we all switch to Linux, right? Linux is open source, so it's free too. I don't think Monkey's ready to switch to Linux though. Speaking of unstable, there's just too much. Even the most user-friendly Linux OSs out there now, which there are some by the way, they look great. But even the most user-friendly ones are a little bit too unstable and fiddly for Monkey at this point in time. I might play around with them for fun, but I don't know if I want them as my main operating system just yet. But maybe we're getting there. Gradually. of tiredness. I think I mentioned I didn't get a lot of sleep. Get some sleep. I would blame the caffeine, but I don't think I had too much caffeine yesterday. Oh, I did have a really, really nice time this past weekend, though. It's been a while since Monkey did actual, like, somewhat British-style tea time. It's been a while since Monkey's had the privilege of doing that. Slowing down and having tea. And so this weekend I got that opportunity. It wasn't really planned, it just kinda happened. But I had some nice British tea, British milk tea with some savories. And it was so good. I drank a whole pot of black tea by myself. That night I was certainly caffeinated. Good stuff. I'm lucky enough to have an old MacBook Pro sitting around. But if I didn't, then I would hear what I did. Yeah. That's nice though, I'm glad to hear it. I hope it still works well for you. Cause I know sometimes batteries and stuff, they get all weird when they get old. But if you have a charger, if you find a charger, at the very least you can... Have you all had this happen yet? Having that laptop that you can't get rid of yet, but it's really starting to fall apart, and the battery no longer works, so it's now always going to have to be rooted to the wall. Makes it less portable, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be portable. It just needs to work, right? Monkey's dealt with that a little bit. The imagery reminded me of, if anyone's read Howl's Moving Castle, not in the movie, but in the original book. There's a cute description of I guess, it's a cute description of computers or something, I guess you could say, and how they have these roots that extend into the walls, and like plants. Pretty good. Up all night adventuring, eh? I guess so. Up all night in Fantasyland. I kept one more sentence. I actually wrote the whole thing on my mobile, which I wasn't necessarily intending to do. Well, I didn't really have any plans, but I think that's the first time. That might be the first time I've written a full story on mobile. Maybe once before for a different writing prompt, but I don't remember very strongly. It's a lot of a slower process because Monkey is still faster on a full-size keyboard than I am on a mobile keyboard, but it was surprisingly alright. It worked out surprisingly well. I was the exact same way with my phone, lol. I was stubborn to replace it, despite its battery life of 15 minutes on a good day. Oh my goodness! That sounds tough, Shatter. Oh, yeah. You know, now that you mention it, Monkey has gotten into the habit of always having my devices plugged in. Anytime I sit down, have my devices plugged in. I have chargers scattered around the house, and so just reflexively, anytime I sit down, in goes the plug. I think it might have something to do with that kind of experience. Monkey's had some really terrible luck with phones in the past too. There was a time, I don't know what Monkey was doing wrong. Like maybe it was Monkey, but like Monkey's phones were breaking like every half year to a year. I thought that was ridiculous. I don't know how that happened. They kept breaking, and since they were under warranty, then Monkey would get a replacement. But then that one would break, and then it would no longer be under warranty because it took long enough to break, and it was a trying time. Let's really let's really say that. I don't know. Monkey was destroying phones, I guess. I don't know. Couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, cause they all broke in different ways too. Monkey was just unlucky, I guess. That gave Monkey some phone anxiety for a while. Cause Monkey's definitely the type who hangs on to a phone for as long as possible before replacing it. But in that case, as long as possible was very short. It's been better recently though. Hopefully Monkey's current phone will last for a very long time. That's exactly why my sister stopped using this Mac. Ah, I see. Battery gave out and she had to keep it plugged in at all times, which is bad since she travels for a lot of personal or work reasons. Ah, yeah, exactly. When the portability is important, then that just doesn't work, right? I, on the other hand, never take laptops with me, so I don't mind. I know what you mean. Monkey bought a laptop once under the impression that, oh, you know, laptops are for portability, and so I want to make sure that it is portable, so I got one where I prioritized portability. And then I never brought it anywhere. Some of that was out of my control, but some of it was I realized that I very rarely had a reason to bring it anywhere. There was a time in my life where the portability was kind of important, but it was a relatively short period, all things considered, when Monkey thinks about it. So I always just thought of laptops as portable, because that's what... I mean, when you look at them, that's what they seem to be about, right? But for Monkey, it was more like the portability of being able to use it from bed. If I wanted to. Nah, I take that back. There was a time where it was very important that Monkey's laptop was portable. Yeah, at that time, Monkey didn't have any sort of personal desktop. So Monkey's laptop was both my personal desktop and my out and about laptop. So there are uses, but you gotta know where you're at, I guess, and whether you need it or not. I once saw it go from 100% to 76% to dead right before my eyes. Oh! Oh, that's something to watch, Shatter, I imagine. That's quite something. Wow. Yet somehow, I get this feeling of familiarity, like I've seen something like that before. Maybe not so dramatically, though. I've upgraded and picked up an external battery since. Yeah! External batteries, they've become like a life-saving norm these days. Whenever Monkey travels, I obsessively try to make sure I have my external batteries and they're all charged up and stuff. But Monkey is so forgetful, I'm always afraid I'm gonna forget it, and that's the exact moment I'm gonna need it, you know? It was only when Monkey understood phones were not good ping-pong paddles that her phone stopped breaking. They're not, but they're the right shape. Ah, wait, they're not. Shatter agrees. As you say, same brain cell, right? Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, ping pong is an important cultural sport. They work alright. Not at all, it turns out. Wow! You know, they really ought to write that on the packaging or something, right, Cuckoo? Cause otherwise, how are we supposed to know? It looks so much like it's meant for ping pong. They really ought to let people know. That's very strange. My things either work perfectly forever or they die instantly. No in between. My last phone just kinda died out of nowhere a few months after I got it. Oh no! Yet my NES fails to not read games. Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome! You know, I don't know much about the NES, but I have heard a lot about... They seem sturdy. I mean, it seems like they were built to last. Unlike, you know, sometimes I wonder if it's because a lot of the phones these days, what do they call it? Planned obsolescence or something? They're not really intended to last very long. They don't expect you to have them for very long. One thing that frustrated Monkey during that time period was that oftentimes I'd find that a phone would work right up until its warranty, and then 1 or 2 months later, it would break. It was almost surreal. And that shows you that the warranties are almost exactly written in such a way that that's the actual expected lifespan, you know? Sometimes they say, you know, oh, 5-year warranty, 2-year warranty, whatever. And they just mean, you know, that's not the expected lifespan, but that's as long as we'll support it. But phones these days, I feel like that's their expected lifespan. I don't know. This culture of phones dying every few years is kind of unfortunate in Monkey's opinion, but I guess that's where we're at now. And I had just perfected my vacuum. Oh! Oh, I see. Like, I literally have yet to have my NES read a cartridge on the first try. Oh, have my NES not read a cartridge on the first try. Wow! Well, that's cool! I never had an NES, but I know the whole take the cartridge out and blow on it thing. Cause Monkey's had some older handheld consoles that use that kind of cartridge. The kind that you blow on, I mean. Well, that's really cool. That's really nice. Nintendo consoles are famous for their longevity. Oh, really? There's a Game Boy that survived an explosion during the Gulf War. What? And it's still able to turn on and play Tetris. That's incredible. That's quite a story. I like that. Oh, now Monkey wants to go dig up my old Game Boys and see how they're doing. See if they still work. Some of those old games are still solid games too. I mean, Monkey only really played Pokemon, let's be real. All of my consoles have have always just been expensive Pokemon machines. I played a few other games here and there, I suppose. But it was mainly for the Pokemons usually. But Pokemon is a solid game. Stands up, I think. I don't know, I haven't played the originals in a long time, but I feel like they're pretty solid. And the art style is still solid because it took advantage of the pixelated look, and it looks really cute. In some ways, I kind of like some of the older art styles more than the newer art styles. Controversial opinion, so I apologize, feel free to cover your ears. Monkey's not the hugest fan of the aesthetics of the new Pokemon game that's gonna come out, the Scarlet and Violet. It's not that I don't like the aesthetics, but... And this is where the controversial part comes in. I know there's been a lot of positive press over the professors in the new game, Scarlet and Violet. Everyone really loves the professors and they're talking about how they're so styling. But Monkey thinks they're okay. They don't look bad. It's not necessarily Monkey's style, I guess. I don't know. I apologize. This is all Monkey's personal opinion. If you like the way they look, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So compared to that, I do like the aesthetics of the old game quite a lot. I should note, it looks decidedly worse for wear. But, hey, function over form. You know, in some ways, Shatter, if you ascribe to the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi, which is a difficult one, it's kind of one of those things that you really gotta get that feel for. If you subscribe to that, there is a vein of thinking within wabi-sabi that Monkey really enjoys. It's something that, yes, Monkey really enjoys, let's just say. Is that to be wabi, one of the beauties is the marks of age and use, you know? Like the T-Pets developing a patina, but even going further than that, right? Some people like to point to Kintsugi as an example of this, but even Kintsugi is a little bit opulent as a way of doing wabi-sabi. Kintsugi, for those of you who don't know, is when you take something that's been broken, typically teaware, you know, typically bowls and other ceramics. I guess you can only do it with ceramics. And you mend it, and when you mend it, you add some gold powder. It's called makie, the technique of adding gold powder on top of lacquer so that it adds this beautiful gold plating design. And you kind of add that along all of the cracks. I think this is because typically you also fix it using lacquer as the glue. And it creates this beautiful, unique spiderwebby pattern that, rather than shying away from the fact that this thing has been broken, sort of celebrates the way that it broke and the way that it's come back together. So I do love Kintsugi. Well, don't get me wrong, I love Kintsugi. But I think as far as wabi things go, what's even more wabi than that? Monkey's go-to example in my mind of the true feeling of wabi. And Monkey's not an expert, so don't take my word for it, but Monkey's feeling towards it is like... I think one of the things that a lot of people might be able to relate to is your favorite pair of jeans, right? Your favorite pair of jeans. You've worn them so much, they're not shaped like new anymore, right? They're so worn. You worn them in so much that they're kind of like a little bit wonky, like they don't lie flat when you fold them perfectly, because you know they've stretched in some places and not others. And there's some fading here and there. Maybe you got a rip or a patch or something going on. It's fraying at the edges, who knows? The pocket's got a little hole in it. It's a little bit beaten up, but at the same time, it's not because you haven't taken care of it. They're your favorite pair of jeans, so you've been careful with them over time. You haven't done things too reckless to get them to a point where they're definitely gonna get torn or destroyed. You've loved them and cared for them and lived your life with them, and over time they've developed these signs of that life that you've shared together. And in some ways, that's the beauty of wabi. And someone looking at this pair of jeans, they may not know the story. And so, to them, they may not know if it's wabi or not. It could just be, oh, these are fashion jeans and that's why they have rips in them. Or, oh, you didn't take care of them and that's why they look so old. Or you don't really care about them. These are all other things that almost look wabi, but they kind of have that wabi feeling. But to Monkey, they don't get to the real core beauty of the wabi. Which is that connection, that history, that care. That care that despite how much care you put in, the passage of time still marches on, right? And yeah. That's the best way Monkey can explain it. I'm not sure if it makes sense. I'm not sure if anyone agrees with me. I am not a professor. I am not an expert on wabi or sabi. Nor did I grow up with the concept natively, so I think it's important to take what I say with a grain of salt. But right now, to the monkey that is here with you right now, that's what it means to me. We'll see if that changes in a year. Alright. I think the screen is starting to dim a little, but it's still at the Nintendo store in NY. Oh! That's cool! Wow! Yes, I agree, TBH. About the Pokemons. Oh, I'm glad I'm not alone. Motorcycle legendary, lol. That's a really interesting... that is a cool concept. What is it called? What is it called, that style? Bosuzoku? Is that right? Bosuzoku. Yeah, Bosuzoku. Bosozoku, sorry. These Pokemon are definitely, I think, definitely based on Bosozoku, which is a trend from when was this a trend? 1950s biker gangs in Japan. You might have seen it parodied on anime and stuff, where the trend was it started with bikes. It eventually moved to cars as well. The idea was to make your bike look as like ridiculous and over the top as possible. I guess that was a part of it. It's really fun. I get those vibes from these Pokemon. Especially with their vestigial wheels. I could not get over that from the trailer. Why are their wheels vestigial? They even deploy them as if they might use them, and then don't. Well, specifically the past motorcycle, for some reason, just runs around with its wheels deployed. I don't know. It's like an appendix, I guess. It thinks it's being used, but it's not. I'm more of a fan of the cartoonist style from the previous entries. Me too. I've never been a fan of realistic styling before. I guess Monkey leans that way a little bit too. That reminds me of something Monkey's really been thinking about recently. I haven't heard anyone else say anything about it. It's just my own personal conjecture. But I noticed that if you look throughout human history and across human cultures, realism in art is actually very unusual and uncommon. You mostly only see it in things stemming specifically from, say, the Greek aesthetic, and even some some older Egyptian stuff was kind of realistic, but they still had, you know, cat heads on human bodies and things like that, you know? The photorealism that you see as a genre of art today, obviously they didn't have photos. Obviously things were different. But there didn't seem to be a strong drive to push for that in most cultures, even cultures that could have if they wanted to. And Lucky finds that interesting. And I was wondering at first why that's the case. Because people like to say, oh, they just couldn't yet, or art has progressed to the point where we've gotten better at anatomy and stuff, as if it's some sort of natural progression. But if you think about it, it's really not. Like, what are the most common popular art styles today? I don't know. But in Monkey's sort of geeky otaku circles, they're either anime styled, which are clearly non-realistic, or like sort of the Magic the Gathering fantasy style, where it's kind of got more 3D realism elements. But if you really look, they're not realistic at all. The depictions of humans and stuff like that. And so Monkey has started to believe that maybe humans just don't actually like realism in our art. It's like an interesting thing to do sometimes, and certainly they're beautiful and incredibly talented and all of these things. But somehow realism doesn't necessarily, it's not a necessary thing for humans in art, and maybe not even something we strive for. It's not the point, I guess. We like to look at unrealistic portrayals of humans and things. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but I find it interesting. And but that's not to say that we hate realism either, because there's plenty of that now, right? It's clearly a style that appeals, in the same way that there's a lot of styles out there that could be appealing. It's just not one that perhaps humans naturally gravitate towards. Maybe it's hard to do in a way that doesn't end up grotesque. Pokemon games on Switch look pretty bad to me. Oh, you think so? Like, they look like 3DS games running on a Switch, not like actual Switch games. Oh, interesting. I think I might understand what you mean. I don't know. I don't play enough other games. I'm not well enough into the, you know, games industry community to know exactly about those types of potentials and stuff. But I remember it was AFox or someone saying something similar, that graphically, Pokemon falls behind what other games on the same platform are capable of. From a glance that I'd very much now like to research further, could it be described as perfect imperfection? Ah, yeah. I guess so. That has the sort of a Zen koan feeling to it. So, probably you could describe it that way, but because it is an inherent paradox, the meaning of what that means to each person is going to be hard to really say, and it's one of those things that you really have to think about it for a really long time to see if it makes any sense to you. In some ways, rather than perfect imperfection, Monkey's feeling towards it is it's imperfection, and that's kind of nice, you know? That's kind of what's nice about it. The fact that it's imperfect. Pokemon Legends Arceus kind of looks like Gmod to me. What is Gmod? It's hard to explain why, it just does. Oh. Also, should we be careful about time today, or are we free? Oh! We're not, like, going to die if we go a little over, but, yes, we should probably be a little bit careful about time today. I see what you mean. Thank you for pointing it out, Shadra. I appreciate that. Yeah, we We got about 5 minutes. I could do that. Bosozoku style is something so over the top, I can't help but love it. Shatter, somehow I expected that. Somehow I expected if anyone in chat knows about Bosozoku and enjoys it, it's gonna be Shatter. It's fun, right? I need a massive coat with a koi fish embroidered on the back. That's pretty cool. Man, this kind of aesthetic, like Yakuza aesthetic, is really cool, I will say. It's just, be careful. Be careful, Shatter. Don't accidentally join any gangs. Gary's Mod. Oh, I've heard of this. It's a game that runs on the Source engine like Half-Life 2 and stuff. Oh, is that the one people were using to make all sorts of animated videos back in the day? Gang Shatter. Yeah. Danger. Gang Shatter. Bosozoku and Bancho. Oh, let me look that up. Are some of my favorite character archetypes. Oh. Bancho may refer to either a governmental position during the Ritsuhiro period or the leader of a group of delinquents. Like Yankee. Something about how they're usually portrayed as rough but well-meaning resonates, I suppose. Yeah, it's a common trope, right? I actually really fell into that for a while too. There was a yonkoma I used to read, for example, called Yandere Kanojo, but instead of yandere like sickness dere, this was before the term yandere got big, I think. Instead of yandere sickness dere, they went for yandere Yankee dere. And it's about this adorable couple where one of them is a Yankee and the other one is a bit of a geek. And they're so sweet together. It's the most adorable romantic comedy. Monkey doesn't like romantic drama. Monkey likes when everyone is just kind of happy together and they're just having a good time. That's what Yandere Kanojo is. Very much enjoyed. And then I also liked... Oh, what was it? There was another one that had that similar feeling. Oh, yes! It wasn't even necessarily the best manga out there in terms of pacing and comedy or story or anything, but by obligation perhaps, I had to enjoy. There was one manga called... Oh, what was it called? It was a manga about a delinquent learning tea ceremony. Joining the tea ceremony club at school because he wanted to become less scary, I guess. He became a delinquent not on purpose, but because he looks naturally scary, and so people would pick fights with him, and then so he'd end up in a bunch of fights. And so it's this really cute dichotomy of this really sweet guy who looks really scary and has some funny sort of delinquency tendencies, but trying to learn Zen through tea ceremony. Is really cute, and with his friends and stuff. And of course, the super well-known, the incredible, Gofushifudo is so good. Oh, it's so good. For those of you who might not know, it is a comedy about an ex-yakuza, an ex-legendary yakuza, who has decided that he's going to become a house husband and throws all of his passion into it. It's really wonderful. It has an anime, but I thought it was unfortunate. I think the anime could have used a much larger budget, and so it doesn't really land the same way that the manga does. But the manga is incredible. Technically, yes, that's the one. Yes, those old animated videos were great. Oh, not again. But I did end up joining a club. I mean, club. Does that count? Clubs are safe. Clubs are safe. Clubs are good. Safe. I loved Yandere Kanojo. Ah, you read it too. That's great. It was so good. So good. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad you liked it too. I think you might be the first person I've talked to who's like, oh yeah, I love that. Like they knew what it was. That's great. Oh, uh-oh. But looking at the time, I think this is gonna have to be it for today, guys. But thanks so much for coming and chatting with Monkey and listening to Monkey's bad storytelling. I had a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you all again on Thursday, yeah? I had quite the deep dive into Bancho manga. Oh. Maybe you can recommend me some later. I would love to read more. They're so good. Thanks for the stream now. Thank you, Chito. Thank you for coming. Alright. See you guys next stream. Yeah. And so with this, I guess I should say, this meeting of the Tianshi Club is now officially adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming. See you all again soon. But that's for another time, Lamal. Yeah, let's chat about it another time. I'd love to know more. Thank you for the stream now. It was lovely to listen to your story, and I hope we can hear more in the future. Hashtag love Tianshi. Oh, thank you, Shanter. Thank you. Oh, oh dear. See you. Goodbye, Geronimo. Thank you for stopping by. I hope we see more of each other. Bye now, bye chat. Bye, Chito. Adios, Banda. Alright. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you all so much, and bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.